live? Live? Here we go. We are live. I had little minor issues, but like we are up and running. So let me play some music. Grab a coffee, grab yourself a drink, and we are going to meet in just a few minutes. So let's go with this. The Great Adventure music. I love this song. Good morning everybody. Thanks for showing up, and hopefully everybody had a good week. Over here, like, we have such a nice and warm short sleeves weather in Toronto. It's sunny. It's absolutely gorgeous. I just can't wait for us to kind of like dive in and what we have to do. So let's start. Last week, I will have to say, somebody suggested, like, why don't you leave the little kind of like paper on the table when you're reading, so that way when they click through, they can see what it is. So I'll try to do it to see if that's going to stand. So we are going to, of course, start with the birthday ladies and guys. Scorpio, happy belated and happy upcoming birthday. So let's see what is in the store for you, and let's see which one is going to be next. Hot and humid there. Whoa, Australia. Whoa. So honestly, I'm not complaining. It's going to be 19 degrees today. That to me would be, in my opinion, the perfect weather. So I would subscribe. I don't know if I would subscribe all year round. I do like snow, but I don't like slush. So hey, like, everything comes together, right? So Scorpio. Ooh, Scorpio, your reading is literally popping out. So you have 10 of Pentacles, you have 5 of Swords, you have Knight of Pentacles, you have 2 of Cups, and you have 7 of Wands. Okay, guys, what do we make out of it? I really don't want to interpret this individually, because individually you're going to start feeling torn in all directions, even though in general readings, individual cards can make sense. So let me just first give you a kind of like global view, what also intuitively came to me. It is kind of like there is like some kind of like adjustment in a relationship. I definitely feel that somebody feels that they need to hold their ground and maybe kind of like moving forward to proceed with caution. And this is all kind of like looking at the big picture, if things work for you or they don't. And that can be a relationship at home with your partner, that can be friendship, that can be with a coworker, right? So it can be simply like that you have something with your boss, that sort of things. I would say it's all actually very positive, because everything that is really happening kind of like starts maybe a little bit foolish, starts with a little bit kind of like crying a little bit out of kind of like a victim story, but then it kind of like starts to open up the conversation, starts to open up this kind of like, okay, so where is the common ground, right? What kind of like can we accomplish together? And then kind of like there is this merge and insisting on everything that has been agreed to continue. That's kind of like what I see, and this is kind of like all really kind of like well done. Individually, some of you might be dealing with family, some of you might be dealing with the wills, some of you might be dealing with simply kind of like legacy issues, and some people might feel overly powerful. So you see how the kitty is completely mesmerized with his own kind of like ego. He's like into, oh, I'm so gorgeous, I'm so this, I'm so that. And he's not realizing that he has maybe one, but they're like two very, very resentful kind of like individuals here. And that's something we kind of like really need to think in this Pyrrhic victory, that, you know, it's just around the corner that people will get stronger and they're going to come and take us down, kind of like that sort of things, right? Because look at that. There is like this defense system that is again kicking in motion. It's kind of like, hey, now I'm again not feeling right. So in order not to kind of like continuously go back and forth and kind of like needing to reestablish yourself, I kind of like see this happening in the work situation. I do see that maybe continuously you feel that you need to maybe not to say defensive, that you don't need to defend your position, but kind of like there is like some kind of like justification, or you have somebody who is really impossible to work with, so that's why you kind of like have your backup. Let me grab one more card here, even though that's very clear to me, but let's see what else I get here. Mid-30s, oh my goodness, that's just like way too much for me, Kylie. Like a mid-30s in frivolity. I don't like the name. Like, I mean, this is much better. Like, I mean, it is done in Vera Sibilla, Leggerezza, which means lightness, that wonderful lightness of being, kind of like just enjoying the moment. And that's pretty much what it's telling you here. Don't take things like, I mean, kind of like in a very, very tense way. Nothing is really right now, situation is not right now where you can put the deep roots, even though this is what you want. Maybe the other person is not really ready. So you really need to take this like whole week really light, you know. Maybe it's going to feel uncertain with lovers, right? But don't do anything rash, because you might regret it, because ultimately you need to focus on that cooperation, on unity, on love, right? So this also can kind of like deal with your health, of course, right? Like if you're working and dealing through really strange times, so you really need to think positively here. Don't take life very seriously. So yeah, I think that's overall message. Don't kind of like go on the limb kind of like things, and kind of like work this whole week to build kind of like more like of a carefree person. It's really hard because you are like a fixed sign. You kind of like really like to make, like you don't make just like a small bricks, you make big bricks and then you connect them and you want to build your system. But that's kind of like how basically it rolls. So you really need to kind of go with the flow this week. Thank you, Barbie. I'm actually not feeling that great. It's just like I still didn't get my thing, because Yesterday I called the doctor's secretary. She's just not picking up the phone. She's like on her phone, on her testing all the time, never mind the clients. And I don't dare to tell my doctor because that would mean war with the secretary. So I think I'm going to just stroll in the office on Monday and do it. So the next one is Capricorn. So let's see if I put this here. That's not necessarily going to work. Maybe I need to get special different papers that can tell us who this is. Oh, what do you think, guys? Can this be seen? Not really. We'll see. So Capricorn. Let's see what we have here. Capricorn. Capricorn. Well, you know, Barbie, yeah, I know. It's just like, that's the Libra in me, right? I would really like to tell somebody off. I'm like, what the heck is going on? You're never calling me. I'm not getting results. What am I paying this for? But then you have to bite your tongue and kind of like work within the system to get basically your own results. Can see it says Capricorn. Okay, so didn't something flick? Ew, you got 7 of Swords. Yeah, to me, this is kind of like one of possibly worst cards to get because like you have really good intentions and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's pretty much what I was talking about right now. But people are undermining you or something is happening in the background which is not going your way. So it's almost like you wake up and you wake up in the middle of the summer and like in the morning you see the snow. So the first question is, oh my God, how long did I sleep? Basically, how long was I clueless? Like what has been happening? Oh my gosh, this is your card, but that kind of like would probably link to it. There's like something majorly happening and going on in your life that that the kind of like really you need to resolve. So let's kind of like talk about this card, the Devil. There is like here, look at this. Like one kitty here thinks she's like a dog, another one thinks she's a rabbit, right? So everybody is acting out of basically their own personality. And there's like something in psychology where you see this happening. If somebody really has a need to conquer a lesson, they're going to meet a person can be just completely normal person, but for the time being, for being with this person is going to simply almost like step in that kind of like situation of playing this role without even knowing, because there's going to be some kind of like vibe, some kind of like send off this person kind of like the first person A has. So it could be just, for example, person A, it's a really bubbly, nice girl who really wants a bubbly, nice guy. So bubbly, nice girl also has some kind of like karma issues that she needs to handle, such as she has to stop being a doormat, for example. And the bubbly nice guy, he wants to meet a nice girl, but since he's like a little bit too easygoing, he actually wants somebody who is maybe, let's say, more kind of like go-getter, who is going to start pushing things going in order for that to make it a good fit. So now the two of them meet, and I guess his karma is that, you know, like, I mean, he has to find this balance between people pushing him around and him kind of like getting his rest and relaxation that his type B personality wants. So all of a sudden, because of these background issues, you know, like this, what is under that iceberg that we see on the top, like there's like kind of like this kind of like their chain to those issues that they really have to resolve. So now all of a sudden he's becoming very kind of like domineering because he, instead of letting her organize the stuff, now he's asserting himself, because that's simply how the pendulum swings, one side and another side. And she is a little bit angry because she feels, oh, you're walking over me. So all of a sudden, two completely nice people are at each other's throats, right? Like, I mean, doing these kind of things to each other. And that's kind of like we call codependency, because what happens, either you basically kill each other, you murder each other, or like you live in this tolerable silence for many, many years where you are tiptoeing, walking on eggshells and that kind of stuff. Let me just get one more. But because this card represents your sign, that can be very simple explanation that you are maybe very mesmerized with sex, because you're like a horn dog of horoscope, not Scorpio. You are, yes, you Capricorn. And that simply you're not seeing basically forest out of the tree, that somebody is appearing much better than they are, and hence, ta-da, the Tower. Not good cards, my dear Capricorn. But I'm going to tell you, I had this discussion with somebody over the Tower card, so you can tell how little of life I have when I have these kind of discussions. So Tower, even though it's kind of like a scary card, it's absolutely excellent card. And what it basically does, because look, it's 16 going from 15 to 16. So here you're stuck. There is no freaking way out. You might be as well in this Tower over here, but now Tower broke down and you can get out. Sure, it's going to be a little bit dangerous or stressful or shocking situation, but you're out. And now, you know, when you're down, you're down. There is like really a good news in being down. And what is it? The only way to go is up. So when Tower shows up here, even usually when the Devil shows up, the Devil is already warning you, oh my gosh, you're stuck. You have to get unstuck. Something will happen. You know, things are not going to end well. Kind of like do it. You're probably hearing people saying this to you and kind of like brushing this all off. So if something like that was happening to you, you kind of like really need to take note, because this week is going to be, ta-da! You guys need to remember that even though Mercury retrograde is officially over, we still have like these 3 weeks until Mercury gains the entire speed. Like my computer right now is getting fixed still, and I have these issues every year 4 times, but that's because I do this job. I don't expect you to have this kind of like huge disturbance. But when the Tower shows up, it says, okay, let's kind of like reset this. Let's kind of like have a clean installation of the operating system. Let's do it all over. Let's feel a little bit later. So let's see what kind of card you have. Hi Prashi, good to see you. If the question is about your own reading, like you have to wait when we have the doors, and then you will have that, because this is just a general reading, and I don't do these individual answers here, except like few times, which was a very specific situation. So joyfulness was reversed. Okay, so let's go with this. The Devil card can also talk a third party situation. And again, I have to keep that in kind of like in line, that this could be like just you, Capricorn, talking about that. But when this card reverses, it's simply the opposite. It kind of like talks about some kind of disappointment. Somebody is going to let you down. And it suggests that you might be taken by this, right? So it might not be something like huge, but let's say you might be a little bit restless, or could you have maybe a week where you don't have like some major ideas, or you have a lack of initiative, well, you know, or just like feeling like, lack of peace or something, right? So there is like, like that ambition that you usually feel that you're fueled with, you feel the need for it, but you just cannot put it in practice, sort of a thing, right? So if, for example, you're dealing with family, because this can also suggest, right, it could be kind of like a disagreement of some sort, right? And when it comes to finances, it could be like, oh my God, I have to reset it. So somebody maybe set portfolio for you. Remember how I said like something happened while you were sleeping and you didn't look into something, and now you're going to open it up. Oh my gosh, I had more money when I invested than I have it now. Kind of like that kind of situation. So tricky week, but you are kind of like going to have to rebuild by the end of the week, and then you have the opportunity to put everything right. So generally people do it because it's not that you have lots of options doing it at that stage. So there you go. Thanks, Kylie, for jumping in. Please note, readings are done randomly. Cat chooses from a bowl. So there you go. Perfect. That's why I have a great mods for. So who is the next? Who is the next here? Where is everybody? Come. It is Saturday. It's a. Oh, this one really wants to come out. So let's see. Pisces. Okay, let's see. For the next time, I'm going to create a little kind of like cards, and then I can pull them and put them on. So let's see. Actually, it's not as practical as I thought it would be, but it's a beginning, and it was a good suggestion. Did I put the? I didn't put. Oh, Barbie, you left a comment. Oh my gosh, see like how slow I am. Chris, I didn't answer your email yet. Barbie, like she left a message. I didn't know what the heck this means. I was like raking my head. It's okay, I'm going to email her later to see what is this all about. And then I forgot. You see, I'm getting old. I'm forgetting things. So there you go. So let's see, Pisces. Hello, Isa. How are you, sweetie? Ooh, Pisces. What is this? Like, so you have, that's pretty much the same card we had reversed for Capricorn, but I think this was more or less upright. You have Three of Cups. So that is ooh, and look at that. Maybe it was reversed to start with. Maybe it isn't. Maybe, Pisces, this week you are meeting some friends, or you're like observing your relationships, because look, you have a Three of Cups, you have Five of Cups, and you have Five of Swords. They're like, fives are very unstable cards, right? Just think about it, like there is like a square at 4, and then 5 is like breaking that square. So like, where is the stress on which element? And this is why 5s kind of like show some kind of like adjustment in a situation, as here he has to adjust his own sense of well-being or his sense of greatness. So the ego is kind of like flying high, right? And here is like sense of emotional fulfillment, right? Where you're not looking into what you have and what you have accomplished, you're looking at what you don't have. So that's kind of like glass full, glass half full and glass half empty kind of situation. Well, what is a really good news over here is that this kind of like 2 cards are reversed. So here the adjustment is taking place already. So maybe you got some feedback from your friends or whatever, you know, like, okay, I love you as a friend, but you know, like Swords are usually upset when you don't come on time, where you're not following through, right? So air signs are very kind of like that you keep your word. That's going to be really important, right? But you might also be dealing with some kind of like other water signs, and water signs are more or less upset when you kind of let them down emotionally, if they feel that they have to share you and they shouldn't be sharing you, or there was like not enough time for them, and so on and so forth, right? So here clearly the suggestion for you for this week is to kind of like transform yourself, to kind of like really reconnect with your friends, to really kind of like deal with that. I kind of like see this 3 repeating, 3, and then he has the 3 swords here, and he has the 3 cups here, right? So sort of like you'll be looking into the core of your being. Maybe this is also talking about there are like too many, third is the wheel, that there's like somebody who is continuously trying to interfere in your week, in your life, in your relationship. And maybe you have 2 really dear friends, and now you're realizing there's like some kind of like a jealousy in between, and you're kind of like really trying to figure how to address it. So that is really, really important, right, to kind of like see that. So let me see what else. And there is a gift. It's actually a really, really good card. So I don't know if you're going to be getting a literal gift. That's not what came through my mind. What came through my mind is, no, sorry. That's what came through my mind, that you will get a gift, but that gift is going to be some kind of like, not necessarily Trojan horse, but it's almost like trying to buy your, I guess, loyalty or something. Because this card, I have a bug here, is really about kind of like winning, and this card is also about winning. But this card is also telling us that winning is not everything, that winning kind of like has to be moderated, that sometimes if you win at the cost of somebody feeling really embarrassed as losing. I guess we can see that in the US right now, right? Like as I'm talking this, I'm thinking, okay, how do I say this without going into politics, because I just don't want to go in politics. It's not really the point. But this, you know what I mean, because right now you have pretty much 50-50 situation, and also situation where we just cannot understand how come you cannot count ballots. You know how election looks in Canada? You go like within 5 minutes walk to a neighboring school or condo building. They have like these stations everywhere. we get the voter registration ballot, which is automatic when you live in Canada and you're a citizen. You just like receive it, and in that ballot they tell you where to go, the address, and you bring this with you. You bring your ID or 2 pieces of ID. You go there, you just walk in, 5 minutes in and out. That's it. That's what's done. So you at 9 o'clock, because I also worked elections, so I know at 9 o'clock it's cutoff time. But as you work elections, you're like tallying it up every hour. So by 9 o'clock you're done. You just kind of like add all these previous like 12 hours. You report it to the office report by 12 o'clock midnight we have results. So for me, watching this 4 days later, it's weird. But something like this is here really warning you about that even though you might feel that you're like winning the situation, that somebody's unhappiness needs to be addressed, that like, I mean, situation is not as easy because somebody's more or less looking in the loss than in the win over here. So let's go back to this, because that's kind of like division. I had almost like something like a flattery or bribery or something like that. Like this morning, my dog walker, that's something she's walks Tiger, she posted a picture of a dog, which is Tiger's girlfriend, and she said it's award-winning dog. And I was like, why am I feeling uncomfortable with that? Am I jealous? Because I'm not. I just like felt it was really, really weird. Like, why would you do that? Because most of the dogs, like we have like a mutts, and we are like so crazy about it, right? Anyway, that was kind of like one of those situations. I just like figured like she's really not a good business person, so she kind of like did this nonsense. So this can also talk about, for example, inheritance. This can also talk about winnings. Oh boy, I'm spending too much time today, right? Like, I mean, going on every sign, but it's one of those days. So keep in mind that this gift is not going to fulfill emotional needs. Maybe you're going to give yourself a gift. Maybe you're going to sanitize some kind of like situation that is going on. But you know, what I say in the situation, this is maybe exactly what is needed. Some kind of concession. Maybe, you know, this is going to kind of like create a happiness that is going to appear to be within reach, that sort of a things, right? So whatever happens, I would say accept the gift or situation really graciously, but really you're right to kind of like be wary of the motivations of the giver. So if there are any kind of like strings attached, then, you know, kind of like shy away from it or walk away from it and say thank you, but no thank you, kind of in a situation. It's kind of like interesting and important to know. Yeah, Tiger has a girlfriend. Her name is Budica or Budika. So it's a little Airedale dog that he absolutely loves. An Airedale dog loves actually her food better than Tiger, but that's a different story. So, who's next? Who's next? Ooh, this one is Aries. So we have Aries next. And see, that already covered the thingy. Aries. Oh, that's better. Oh, Barbie, like, I mean, yeah, if she was mad, if people get mad with you because you're not fast enough, you know, if you can't do it, Barbie, you just let me know because I can post it. Of course, nobody can do it all the time. If people are mad with you online, it's just like, we'll block them because we're just humans. We're just doing as much as we can, and that's all there is. Barbie's talking about, you know, people bitching at her that, you know, the timestamps are not done right away. Maybe instead people should join us for live, and that would be so freaking awesome to get more energies. So Aries, you have 9 of Wands, you have 6 of Cups reversed, and you have like 5 of Pentacles. What's going on? It's kind of like a sucky week so far. So 9 of Wands. So there is like something, there is a shift that's happening over here, and there's like something that you feel you really want to push forward. You really feel so strongly about something that you're not willing to give up, even though I don't think you're getting any help. I don't think you're getting any assistance, or that even people are validating, like, I mean, your willingness to go forward. So in fact, you're possibly getting a very negative feedback. And And it's kind of like creating a weird situation, because you being a fire sign, you kind of like to kind of like focus on the future. You like to focus on your goals, and almost like feels like you're being kind of dragged back in a situation. So this sometimes can represent a lawsuit, and hence, whenever you're in a lawsuit or any kind of sort of things, you're kind of frozen in time. You don't move forward. I mean, sometimes you want to sacrifice yourself for a few years until it's done, and hopefully financial benefit is going to compensate this. That probably works in the US. It doesn't work in Canada because we just simply don't get much in the lawsuits. So kind of like being frozen, and our lawsuits last much longer, so being frozen 5 to 7 years to get $1,000 is really not worthwhile. But something like that is really telling me here there is a situation that so far is not solved, and it's almost like that you're forcing some kind of result, and you're at the wit's end also in this entire situation. They're like things that are connecting either to your children or to some kind of projects or something from the past. This card also tells me there's like some long-term relationship happening. So what I mean by that, it could mean literally that, or it could be that it was somebody you knew a long time ago, and somehow they're like still significant or playing a role. So that's why that can be family, that could be, let's say, your high school buddies, your university buddies, or some kind of like old flames coming up to the surface. But you really need to be careful if you are like really dealing with the utmost morality, because this is the first thing that I've noticed. 5 and 6, 11 and 9, 20. It's Judgment card, and something is real. You're like under the microscope this particular week. Every single action that you do, both good and bad, is going to be really counted. So be very, very careful, because you will not get away with kind of like getting the shortcuts or anything like that. So this is really, really clear. This card also kind of like says you really need to know who is with you, who is against you. Because look at this little kitten. Kitten is barely walking, has the broken leg, and it's kind of like back in the snow. But mommy's saying, I'm here for you. We are going to find a warmer place. We're going to sleep. But they're not entering this place where actually they have the food and rest and everything, because this place, for example, doesn't like cats, or you don't have access somewhere because somebody shunned you, like the family doesn't like you, or the company doesn't like you, or you're not finding that fertile ground in order to kind of like move forward. Because you have both 20 and 11 over here. There's like something that it feels like it's working against you, even though you're saying to yourself, this is just temporarily, I will turn things around. Be very careful how far you really want to go, because it looks like you closed lots of doors over here, and maybe just simply changing an approach is kind of like going to work. But let's see what kind of like gypsy card you get here. This one, sweetheart. Yeah, this card is you, literally you. And even though here she's reading a note, I always see this card as her kind of like looking at her cell phone. So lots of things are going to depend on how you process things. And we know Aries is like a sign number 1. So hence you have the greatest energy. You're kind of like pushing forward, kind of like with much greater aggression than any other sign would. Which is good in a situation where we need a pit bull. What if we don't need pit bull, right? If we need, I don't know, not necessarily Chihuahua, which is the same as pit bull. You know what I mean. So you kind of like really, you're going through a situation where you need to assert yourself, but also the same situation is calling for some modification in thinking. It's saying simply how you approach the facts and simply how you approach that emotionally, right? So, this card can talk about love, right? Because we have everything here. We have fire, we have fire, the action, we have cups, the emotion, and we have pentacles, the practicality. We do not have swords. So there's like some lack of communication, I would say, in a situation. So maybe you simply have to say, I need to trust my feelings, and then let go, because simply something that is being held back over here, I feel it's holding you back from your own happiness. So there's like something that you really need to think through over here and move wisely. So there you go. leaving past people in the past. Kylie said it best. Best. All right, what is next? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I have 2 more before yours. And I need a sip of my Tim Hortons. Then we have Sagittarius. You have the longest freaking name. Like whenever I have to create your little icon, it's always, how do I squeeze this name? Because once I tried to call you Saggy, and this woman had such a bad day, and she was like shunning me that I'm insulting people. It is absolutely amazing what people kind of do. So let me put a mark over here. And let's go with Sagittarius. Guys, did you like it? Did you oh, I guess you must be subscribed already if you're here, but let's see. Sagittarius. Oops. Ooh, you're getting the Magician. That's actually lovely. You can use Saggy. Well, normal people, of course, would say, I say Aqua for Aquarius. Like, of course, it goes without saying. It's just like you have some people who are very prickly. And this one wanted to come out. Look at this. 1, 2, 2. It's kind of really interesting what's happening over here. It almost looks to me, Sagittarians, that you're like debating some kind of decision. You have the power, you have the will, you kind of like almost have this magic in your own kind of like hands, in kind of like your dealings with people. What I really like about Sagittarians, you're sort of like a little bit gamblers, even though Capricorns can be gamblers, but of a different sort. And what you're doing, you're feeling lucky, and you're going to get lucky, and not only in that way, but in any way. There is like this certain essence of you not accepting status quo. For you, this is almost like death, living life without kind of like spices. It's like, what's the point kind of a thing, right? So even though there is like this card over here, which could indicate that somebody is juggling something or somebody in the situation, right? Or maybe manipulating situation to kind of like get to this yes and get to this, yeah, he or she loves me kind of a thing, right? So I can see this week kind of going this direction. However, somebody is still in the situation keeping their walls up, keeping their toys to themselves. So maybe you really want somebody to open up and they are not ready, because look at what you have. You have air, which is like similar to your energies, like very expansive, and it's kind of like can create everything. Magician says, as above so below. I am God on this planet. I can create anything. Tell me what you want. I'm going to give it to you. And then you go and say, you go in front of Magician, you're getting this big offer. I don't know what I want, right? So, and then you get exactly that. You get this kind of like flip-flop and this kind of stuff. So it's going to feel this week more or less that you really need to pull yourself together. You need to decide what you want. You need to decide in which direction. So the more decisive you are, the more results you get. If you become wishy-washy, if you start kind of like going left and right, if you start feeding too much information to any situation, so be very precise, right? They did an investigation about it. The more information that you feed, the less believable you are. So just be very precise in your actions. Otherwise, somebody just might shut the door on you. Not permanently, this is not a permanent situation, but this really talks about somebody who is feeling a little bit, let's say, scorned, and right now they need proof for certain things to move forward. So that is kind of like going to be really important to move ahead. See, Journey came reversed. This card is looking almost like exactly like a rider in Lenormand. It's really talking about this motion. It could be kind of little trips that they're like coming, really upcoming, and something is really happening, right? So when this comes reversed, it can talk about, well, actually, you know, something is going to be a failure. Maybe, you know, trip is not really happening, or something has to be canceled the last moment. Somebody says, you know, I don't know if I can do it. Something that you thought would happen, right? Something that you thought would happen is all of a sudden not happening. So you feel maybe a little bit suppressed, right? I really think it's not going to be anything major. It simply is going to be that some communication or some relationship is going to take a step back, right? So if this is, for example, something combining with your work, it can be like, I mean, that there is no promotion or there's stagnation, and maybe some of you wanted to go some kind of transfer over here, so that's why it was up in the air, and that possibly will not occur. So that's kind of like what it shows me there, right? Literally, that can mean that you're dealing with a driver or somebody who is, I don't know, a seaman or a pilot, or there is like some kind of like talk about moving ahead, a business relocation, going in a new situation. That's kind of like what's along your monthlies, that kind of like you're tired of this status quo. You prefer to kind of like get things up and going. So I can see that you're starting, you're going rah, rah, rah. But if you remember my monthlies, I was saying in my monthlies clearly that this is what's going to occur after 15, when we get into that new moon situation, and after 13, Mars is finally not going to be retrograde anymore, so we will all start feeling better. So that's when we will know results of the American elections, and when we are going to start feeling kind of like more enthusiastic about going forward with all this crap that 2020 brought us forward, right? So you see like what year number 4 does, it just really suppresses you. So who is next? Sagittarius with Libra moon, we can be indecisive at times. Oh, I know, Libra can really mess you up quite a bit, right, Barbie? Right, I have ascendant Libra, so it's the same thing. So next one, we have Cancer. Cancer. Let's put your stamp over here. Cancer. Ooh, you already got few. King of Swords and 7 of Wands. Somebody wants something, and it's not the time to get it. It's lots of contradictory kind of like things that I'm getting here. So you get a King of Swords, 7 of Wands, 8 of Wands, and then 5 of Cups. It almost looks like something is being rushed through. It's kind of weird because you guys are water signs. Of course, I was like inclined to think this can represent you. But there is like clearly something happening here that is looking very promising. So it's almost like that you have a discussion of some sort. In that discussion, somebody has their backup, right, just to follow the story, and then there's like a sense of vulnerability in a situation. That vulnerability is talking about, okay, you know, I do have the feelings for you, that sort of things. But then what you find is really less of what you expected. It's kind of like once when you start verbalizing, and not everybody has a gift, like to kind of like really say nicely packaged, because I don't know if you remember Seinfeld episode with the ugly baby. The doctor was calling this baby breathtaking, and Elaine thought the baby was extremely ugly. And then he called Elaine breathtaking, and she completely freaked out. So it could be simply that, kind of like there is like this communication that is really mismatching. It's really, really not happening. And hence this is really causing some kind of like adjustment, some kind of like repositioning, and almost like not looking in all the good things that have been said, looking in kind of like what you really wish to be true. So it's more like a wishful thinking that is really guarding you, or not guarding you, running you, rather than realization of like, I mean, that life is actually going really, really well. So this is like your inner emotional world, and I guess this is why I was drawn to this card first. But let's see what else we get from the gypsies over here. Any Cancers over here online with us? What, I have nobody currently having here. So what's happening? Let me just refresh here. I think something is happening. YouTube is like not 100% perfect, but I'm still grateful. There you go. Yeah, it's still telling me there's nobody there, but hopefully Hopefully YouTube is wrong. Is anybody there? Say hi if you are there. So it will be nice. So you have cheerfulness over here. What I really don't like about this card is like there are two women and one man. It always kind of like takes me off. Always kind of like it's something that kind of like for some reason I'm feeling like, okay, it's a little bit of a hurdle. It's not going to be simple to kind of like move this forward, right? We still have to kind of like deal with certain situations. But nonetheless, this could be like, I mean, members of the same family that could be kind of like pulling things together. And I think that there is like something frozen over here. Oh, it is moved over here. Hello, Isa. It's so nice to see you, sweetie. How's everything going with you? Sip of a coffee. Maybe you guys dealing with your family situations. Maybe there is like celebration of life events, and maybe like that's why you're feeling a little bit of melancholy because something is really kind of like affecting you, right? Because this is really the original card name is Allegria. Allegria in Italian means joy, right? So that's kind of like could be some kind of like social event happening. I don't know, it could be a family event, could be a wedding, baby shower, birthday, that kind of like a stuff. And kind of like this two men and a woman, right? It's kind of like it's something that really needs completion. That's kind of like what this card really means to me, right? It's kind of like also the card of a good news. So you guys really are taking something out of context here, and I really think this will be the warning. This is kind of a little bit of a leftover of this Mercury retrograde. There are like so many good news happening and you're not seeing them. I'm actually very surprised that you didn't get Five of Pentacles. You're processing something emotionally, you need some emotional fulfillment, and it doesn't look like things are no matter what you're being told is going to kind of like feed that need. So that is kind of like really important for you. So this is really telling you, maybe, you know what, just sit down with people you really trust, your family or closest friends, and they're going to cheer you up about the situation. Well, thank you, Isa. I'm feeling a little bit better, meaning like I'm not as fatigued as I was before, so that's a huge progress. And then I got a massage a couple of days ago, and I don't know about you people with massages. It's just like I was like dead the next day. I was so groggy, I guess, after all this lactic acid was released. I completely forgotten that it's going to happen. So I said, oh, but I feel my muscles feel better. So okay, my master mod is telling me it is a time for you guys to get your own questions answered. And which deck will I use for that? Yeah. Let's grab this one. Let's grab this one. Let me hide the stage. Let me hide this. There we go. All right, guys. Question. So door number 1. Door number 2. And door number 3. When I finish the doors, then I'm going to pull the mods cards as well, so you get, guys, your own messages. So let me just put a timestamp because I usually forget these. Okay, so the door number 1 is bridge over troubled waters. So you guys are asking to resolve a situation which you feel that somebody else has some power over you, and that can be connecting with words. It could be connecting with a situation that is volatile at best, that you're really not expecting big results out of it, but you want some kind of like calmness. Look at the water is really wavy and it's really calm. That can also indicate move or simple travel to a safer spot, or some kind of acknowledgement, all in hope of things working out. 6s are good. 6s are also about the choices and kind of like how we react with these choices. So The answer is yes, where you really also need to make a conscious effort and have this discussion about this resolution to take place. The door number 2, you have the High Priestess reversed, which means the entire situation is going to be read wrong. Somebody is going to take things the wrong way, or they are not going to be said properly, and it can create problems. And so you might think it's a yes, it's going to be no. It's unfortunately kind of like one of those situations where maybe somebody is not willing or able to kind of like speak candidly. You might also be just like, stonewalled. And that kind of like is going to have an impact on you. So when the High Priestess shows up, it's also telling you that you really need to ask yourself, if the situation you're dealing with, are you being the best person you can be? Or is the person you're dealing with being the best person they can be? So that way, it's kind of like almost like a warning for you. Do you really want it? Do you really, really want it? Kind of a thing. And the door number 3 is 8 of Wands. This could be something that you really want quickly to be resolved, something that, you want to be super happy. They are called love arrows. So that's overwhelming, yes, and something that really, really happens. So that can be arriving something in a mail, somebody's calling you, email, that kind of stuff, or lover is coming back. So all nice and positive, kind of like coming through. All right, so let me get the mods. I need to scroll it back to see order of appearance, kind of a thing. Knitting Yogi was first here today. How are you feeling, Knitting Yogi? Are you feeling a little bit better? Everything is like already starting to lift up. It's going to be much better around the 15th. So let's see your message, my dear. You got 2, relaxation and gratitude. So I would say this means lots of meditation. Is it 1 or 2 1? You need to do lots of meditations in at a time, and that's could be a little bit like a that pose, hatha yoga, kind of like getting the energy, kind of like getting this feed from the universe. Let's see. The next one was Chris. Chris's message will be commitment. So you're going to be signing a contract, so there's like something you're really focused on, and that is really, really important. Maybe like kind of like reassessing your own kind of like time and space. And then it was Kylie, resilience. Oh my gosh, that's my little rebounder. That's what I'm doing right after this live. And resilience simply means you need to rebounder means getting oxygen in your body, getting your lymph moving, kind of like getting yourself stronger for whatever it needs, because that's probably the most important characteristic that one person can have. Like, you can withhold anything. People can beat you, people can hurt you, and you're going to come back like Freddy Krueger in Friday the 13th. So it's kind of good. And Barbie, you're getting commitment too. So there's like something that you're going to really dedicate yourself, sign something, do something, or it's asking you to commit to something. So you kind of like really need to do that. Did I cover everybody here? Let's see. And did I? I guess Chris. Yeah, I think I did. If I forgot anybody, you guys need to let me know. Okay, Freddy Krueger. So, who is next? Knitting Yogi said, I'm still tired, but I have been able to meditate 6 days in a row and do yoga once. So that's really, really good. So, 4 weeks behind in school, but catching up slowly. And it's kind of been one of those kind of like months. Virgo, we have you next. Okay, Virgo. It's just like another week. Like when I do the live next week, the moment when Mars goes forward, we are feeling like almost like you got your like power juice, and you just got your exercise, and everything will feel all right. So we have Queen of Swords. We have Page of Wands. There is a Virgo Sun. And then we have the Devil. So there is like, this is describing a situation that you're kind of like stuck. And I see that sometimes with my readings for the clients. I call it a protective box, and it's also usually it can be shown in the other card, Eight of Swords, where you really want to move forward, you want to see results, but something is holding us back because this is not ideal situation for us. But we just don't go with what karma thinks is ideal for us. We go with what our ego wants. Well, I want it and I want it now. What do you mean it's not the best for me? I want it now. I want this job. What do you mean? I need to survive. I need to pay my bills. I want this job. So we are not taking into account like, well, this is not going to ultimately end well for you. But nonetheless, kind of like this is what is showing with Queen of Swords. She's kind of like wise enough to know, look, that's the resilience. That's kind of like the queen of resilience. She's kind of always landing on her feet. Look at that. She's not using the sword. The sword has a whole bunch of, like, almost said bugs. Well, they are technically bugs, butterflies landing on it. So she's like using it very sparingly. But she kind of like is really aware of what needs to be done in a situation, and she does it really swiftly. If something is not right, off she goes. So she has this ability because she has learned, it's better to kind of like make it a little pain rather than big pain later. So there is like some kind of like a need to kind of like start a new process, Virgo. You kind of like want to kind of like be active. So this is like a very, very kind of like a busy bee character in tarot over here. But this is still warning that you are still kind of like swimming in murky waters, if you wish. You're still within that box. It's not necessarily protective. It's maybe dealing with all the dark corners that you really need to visit. The Devil belongs to Capricorn, so this is your sister Earth sign. So from that standpoint, this is good. That can be talking about codependency. That can be talking about maybe children, that you have a mother and child connection, which kind of goes well. Maybe you're supervising somebody you really want to help, and then you're seeing them being stuck and hitting the wall all the time, and like you're feeling responsibility as a result of it. Or this could be simply that there is like somebody who maybe has immaturity in a situation, hence there's like no amount explaining that kind of like things are really working out. I mean, I'll give you an example. I saw my dad a few days ago, and he doesn't believe the coronavirus is real. I said to him, look, I just spoke to a friend of mine, and she says not only it's very real, but like it's people not die with excruciating death, and if they don't die, then you're basically sick for the rest of your life because you don't know which link or the weakest link it attacked in your system. So there is like kind of like a thing where you want to fight something that is not real, and that's kind of like the devil is to me like the black hole. It's just like it takes so much effort. So it's clearly talking about don't go there. It's a big sign on the door, do not go there. So what do? You open the door and just like you go there. So Virgo, be very careful of temptation this week, because this can be temptation sexual, it can be dietary temptation, like eating stuff you shouldn't be eating. That can be temptation with kind of like creating commitment about something or somebody without you being fully ready. So be very, really kind of alert this week. Let's see what kind of like you see that, and I tell you, be guarded. Soldier is always holding secrets, right? Soldier is also waiting for a bigger picture to kind of like reveal, right? Because he doesn't know everything that is going on. He's just a little puzzle, right? And as a puzzle, kind of like he is trying to do his share. So we see him with this bayonet over here, right? So this was 18th century. So if we translate it to kind of today, sure, it could mean military or an officer. But this card can also kind of like be that young professional or somebody who is guarding against hostility. It can be some kind of like justice and honor, which kind of connects also with this Queen of Swords, right? So this is kind of like symbolizing that masculinity and kind of almost like youthful fervor. That's why the most I feel it's connecting to this like Knave of Wands. Maybe somebody walked into your life who is younger than you, and now you feel you need to catch up. right? It's kind of like really, really slippery slope that you will never ever win, right? Because this person, maybe you want this person and they're saying, I don't know about this and so on and so forth. It's kind of prepared, looking for some kind of battle over here, right? So now that can be some kind of like extra protectiveness, kind of like that can really talk about that. And that can be interpreted as somebody who is very faithful and faithful partner or trustworthy person or trustworthy employer or employees, that kind of sort of things. And it can also talk about, serious commitment. So that's why I'm kind of like warning, like the serious commitment may be something you want, but the other person might be just like really wishy-washy, or the answer you get is not necessarily the final answer, right? Also, if you guys are dealing with some kind of relationship issues, I feel that your relationship will need to be defended from outside influences. And what is the good news, that your lover is actually serious and protective over here. That can kind of like we see that. If you guys are faced with some kind of like walls and oppositions, which I kind of like see here, try to resolve conflicts before they escalate, right? So you need to look kind of like for the people who will stand up for you to help you. And that's kind of like what I see happening over here. Don't make reckless decision. If something doesn't feel right, then it isn't right. It's kind of like go and ask for the extra clarification. So that's going to be really, really needed over here. So that is our Virgo. The next one is, so how is this knitting yogi for this week? Next one is, we did you Scorpio first. So you're off. And so the first one is always the birthday sign for those people who are looking for this stuff. So next one is, they're my buddies, aqua people. So let's see, Aquarius. Let's put a timestamp here. So 101:44. Aquarius. 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 We have the Hermit. That sometimes represents Aquarians themselves. King of Pentacles. And the Moon reverse. Look at that. We have two major arcanas. Like, they're like both very solitary major arcanas. Like the Hermit is simply saying, leave me alone, I want to be on my own, I want to do my stuff. It could be that we are dedicating to learning something, to studying something. Clearly, like, I mean, influx of other people's idea is not really our kind of like focus this week. We are kind of like taking small steps, but we are kind of like climbing that mountain. In spite of the appearances of everything is falling apart, we actually kind of like know where we are going. We might receive some help or support from this King of Pentacles. So that could be Taurus, or could be Earth sign, or could be somebody who has really good footing and grounding in life, right? King of Pentacles is somebody who is established, has their own company, is dealing with their own things, right? So King of Pentacles is usually kind of like providing comfort as well. So it can connect with possibly, giving us this refuge. So both of them technically are Earth. So maybe somebody's looking over here and say, hey, you're tired. Do you need some place to stay? Do you need something? So it's somebody who is really shielding and sheltering us from life. So basically we have somebody we can really, really count on. It may be a situation of kind of like indecisiveness, or kind of like the Moon is like not so much indecisiveness. It's kind of like missing the freaking mark by far, right? So you're barking at the Moon because you think it's in your way, but your way is completely somewhere different, and the Moon is basically covering the Sun. Lots of things really happening here, conscious and subconscious. And what do I trust? Do I trust my brain, or do I trust my intuition, right? So when this reverses, we are starting to see clearly. It's not the night anymore. The day is arriving, but remember, it's the darkest, it's the pitch dark before the dawn. So we still really need to kind of like proceed carefully. Maybe like this kind of like other people that are supporting us is something new in our life, because Aquarius is one sign that is like fiercely independent, completely fiercely. And for us, it's a weakness of somebody else supporting us or somebody else kind of like stepping in. We almost like feel it's intimidation on its own. So when the moon shows up as reversed, it's actually really good for us. So because this is like after 17, which is the star, which is representing Aquarius in tarot. So now this is the next phase. Maybe we did go through double checking with ourselves if our motivations and other people's motivations are clear. And now we are realizing, well, things might work out. Maybe we are rejoining this human race and kind of like rejoining kind of like everything that is going on. And look at that. We got a really lovely card. So my dear Aquarians, the surprise card means, I don't know if you can see it here. He went fishing. And so he just simply wants to get some food for his family. So he put his fishing net, and he got these bags of money coming through, right? So basically, that is like something that he caught unexpected, and this kind of like usually really links to that King of Pentacles, right? So we have lots of things really happening here. Look at the serene atmosphere. It's almost like pastoral countryside, right? It kind of like suggests peace and tranquility, just like what we see it over here in this card, right? And the green color is like that rebirth. It's kind of like the coloring is like what really got to me. Like there is like this darkness, but we have our own star that we are walking toward. Like you see, we have the star, we have the sun, and we have the moon in this particular picture, right? So this is talking about a happy surprise, and there's like something that is going to be clearly a positive outcome, and that positive outcome is going to be a product of something that we have done. So we are finally reaping the benefits of something, but, and this is a good but, because I usually know the but erase everything that I said, but it's not going to be that we just get it. We get it in much greater amount that we anticipated. So let's say you play a lottery, you want to get $10 back, so you're still in play. No, you get it back, like $1,000, $1,000,000. That's what this card is really, really talking about, it, right? So he caught that surprise, right? Something really, really good happened. So maybe we have lost something, and now this is being found, and a reputation is being established, and circumstances are kind of like working out in our favor. It's definitely a successful and peaceful period that is kind of like moving forward, right? So if there is like, somebody you really want to open up the relationship, then this is really, really happening, right? And this is kind of like improving our image and price. Maybe we are going to get dressed better. This person likes really, really high quality materials. So kind of like my mother said, well, if you're not rich enough to buy cheap stuff, kind of like save enough and get something really, really of a good quality, which is the advice I kind of like used, and everything that I have. It's fewer things, but they last longer, kind of, let's put it this way. So it's going to be optimistic week, Aquarius. What can I tell you? Play a lottery. At the very least, this might actually really work out. So hey, fingers crossed something happens. You see, meaning Yogi, you and me might have a really kind of like positive development on this. I'm going to play lottery right after this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more. I want to take this one first. And that one is Taurus. Taurus, you are next. I don't know if any Taurus has anything to deal with Aquarius. Make sure that you check Aquarius reading. Yeah, that's one. It'll stay properly. So let's do this. And Taurus. Taurus. And there it is, Isa. That's another Aquarius. We are going to be really, really well, like I'm in this particular week. So, Taurus, you have the world. We are the world. And this one is on the floor. And how do I read them? I'm going to just bring them up just the way they have been on the floor. So we have this Knight of Cups. It's almost like that this is guiding to this, and then two more want to come out. So all good, Taurus. Everything is happening here for a reason. So the world is really talking about it's that moment, things are happening. I mean, we can see it here. It's almost like the entire week is some form of celebration. It is kind of like moving slow. You have two knights. You have Knight of Chalices and Knight of Pentacles. It's really telling me that you're taking steps to make yourself happy, but also kind of like they are really firm steps, kind of like for helping you move forward. It could be that you have friends this week over, that you're looking possibly new beginnings and new possibilities. Lots of things might be happening here of some sort. So Taurus, this is like really self-explanatory. You also might want to play a lottery. There's like something really happening with this Nine of Cups. The only thing that kind of like it's really intriguing to me is like that you have possible suitors coming through, and some of them could be like very romantic. The other could be, hey, kind of like, well, under normal circumstances, and I don't know, like where you live in Toronto, we don't have restaurants working. Well, kind of we do. They're on the street. You cannot go inside. So this kind of person would ask you for, hey, let's go and have a bite, while this person would say, let's go and walk under the moonlight, and I will read you the pottery, the poetry, right? So it's kind of like different attitudes, kind of like of a sort. The world is like my half karma card, meaning something is happening right now. So look forward to this weekend. Something is switching, and you are kind of like getting some kind of like brownie points, whether you know it or not. And hence, it's a possibility of a couple of different people entering your life. And hence, you're a little bit indecisive to a point that you might even say, you know what? Like, I like status quo. I like status quo. When I'm on my own, I don't have to do any adjustments. And that's kind of like that really heavy earth that you guys represent. So be very careful of that. Oh, look at that. Barbie has 1111 and I have 1212. So both of us have like really important numbers. That's important. So let's see. Chris, I'm going to have my Aquarius friend buy me a lottery ticket. There you go. That's that's smart thinking. Also, you can ask Taurus. But look at this enemy. And this is kind of like a really good enemy for Aquarius. Look at it. Enemy is actually lurking in shadows. He is hiding behind this tree and waiting for somebody to kind of like maybe move away. You can see he's like, following somebody. So it could be some kind of like a stalker. It is a negative card. Sorry, but this is a Taurus reading. But I feel like because you guys are connecting with 4 fixed signs, so you're connecting with Aquarius, you're connecting with Scorpio, you're connecting with Taurus, and you're connecting with Leo very much this particular week. So it could be some kind of like circumstantial kind of like things that you really need to take in account. It could be a false friend or imposter. Somebody's doing something behind your back. There's like no way around this, right? So be wary. That could be somebody who is really angry with you, right? Maybe they feel that you wronged them and it's seeking revenge. So, but I really think, considering the rest that we have seen, that maybe you had some kind of hostile situation and now you're returning back to feeling friendship, and maybe it was some kind of interruption, and now the obstacle is resolved. So whoever it was your enemy, maybe it was like the bad energy you were holding, that now it's time to just let go. It was somebody maybe who wanted to disrupt your relationships or was causing you emotional distress. So that's something to really think about it, right? So if somebody's blocking your progress, I think you're going to know who it is and simply just like walk away, and that is going to resolve the situation. So Knitting Yogi, she said, no love relationship that I can see, but I'm chairperson of a group. One person is disrespectful and one follow rules. Have had to ask for help in dealing with this. Well, when people don't follow rules, that means they don't want to, the boundaries that we set are either not strong or they're not reinforced. Because what does it mean? People say, I told him and so, but have you told consistently, and consistently because of him or she, him or her, right? Consistently. It has to be all the time. If the dog doesn't return the ball and you go and get it for him, he's not going to learn. So there's like a thing where you just simply don't even have to get upset over that. You're going to say, I'll be just reinforcing the rules. If they don't do it, that's too bad. And you're literally like, stubbornly moving one step after another in the situation. So if the dog doesn't return the ball, then you pick the ball and he's not playing with the ball, right? It's simply, you need to really think in those terms, that you're dealing with somebody who is just asserting their will and they want to change the system. So if this is not what you want it to happen, then you play by the rules, and you're right. Maybe you have to ask other people, I need help with this, and that other people can do that as well. Maybe they shouldn't be there if they don't want to follow the rules. And you ask them, why do you want to be here? These are the rules we had. This really works for us. And right now we are not, like, in the market for changing it. So hopefully this helps. Libra. Let's put your tag over here. So there is, like, our moderator Libra. I have ascendant in Libra. Kylie is having Libra in her chart. Who else has Libra here? Let's see. Libras. Oh, Chris has Taurus rising. Libra, you have 2 of Wands. Of course, why would I not get a card that talks about a little bit of indecision? See, indecision. What I want to do today? Do I want to do this or this? Well, okay, I'm going to get stuck, right? Kind of situation that we have here. Oops. And then we have death. Now, that's a weird reading, Libra. So clearly, as I said, like, here, like, we have 1 wand which is bolted to the wall. Another one is kind of like free, and also we have the cups on one, and we have swords on another, right? So kind of like, if you look at it, we have the wands here, and then we have the pentacles here. So he's kind of like surrounded with all possibilities, but the 2 that are appealing him the most is not that he's grounded in these pentacles. It's kind of like that he has this, like, debate between, hey, do we really want to start something else and kind of like start developing myself in that kind of like thing, or like, should I stick around because something here is emotionally fulfilling? Mommy's making good cookies, so hence I'm not moving to my own place, right? It can be interpreted that way. In the regular Rider-Waite deck, you will see a man holding a globe, which represents our own world, what kind of world we want for us. So this is like about dreaming, and this is about aptitude and an attitude that we want to have. So this is really good. That's about that hope in a situation. But you want certain situation to resolve. That situation is still stuck. Remember how I don't know which sign I was talking about this protective box, I believe for Capricorn. And in that protective box, this is also a card that to me means this protective box. Because here we have a blindfolded kitty that has to get off the tree. And we know at the best of times, cats are really okay going up, but when they have to go down, they freak out, like just like we would if we have to do this like huge jump. On top of that, they're like these swords, and like it's just like, what the heck is going on? So there is like some situation that needs to move forward. It's starting a new situation. It's starting sort of like a new leaf. It's almost like starting a new book for you. But in your situation, really needs to get to the point that something has to stop, right? That card showed up. And when that card shows up, it's really talking about a process of something that we are doing where either we are choosing the wrong path, and that's why we are blindfolded. We really don't know where we are going. We are tapping around and we are going in the wrong direction. So this is telling us to abandon a certain direction. And by abandoning it, we can transform to something that really works for us. If we don't abandon it, we might still insist of making it work, and then we might end up again in that protective box, in that devil stage as well. So keep that in mind, because this is clearly asking us to go back to tried and true, to go back to what generally works, what are the general rules. Don't invent things, don't go for shortcuts. This is a really, really big stern warning over here. You might be dealing with a Scorpio Over here, guys, you might be dealing with air signs, so that's kind of like also suggestion that is really happening over here. So something new that you want might be just like half-baked, and because it's half-baked, it's not going to work. So be very careful that you kind of like dot all your I's and cross all your T's for something to move forward over here. And you have here sight, and it is reversed sights. It's kind of like weird to me. Like, I mean, there is a merchant card as well, which is almost similar. It's almost like the mirror of this card where they both look at this boat, but it's completely different attitude that is shown in a card. In the merchant card, he's like really happy, like he's kind of like knowing that he's like starting a new process, while he almost looks like she has lost someone, and she's like having a card over here. The rose is down. She has to lean on this, almost looks like a piano, but it's a bench, right? So lots of things are here happening, really, if you really think about it, right? So to me, this is card and this entire combination, it's telling me that you guys are searching for, I don't know, for an answer or some kind of solution. There is like certain anticipation and maybe certain expectations that you have, but you also feel possibly isolated, possibly abandoned, right? This can also talk about specifically those of you who are currently separated or divorced, and it's kind of like making you feel a little bit a little bit isolated because of that, right? But overall, this is a positive card because it represents sentimental thoughts of someone or something. Maybe you are thinking of someone. Maybe somebody else is thinking of you, right? So the sights can mean sights of love if you really think about it, right? So these kind of like emotions can sometimes swirl, and you might be thinking like, is it worth it? Remember how I said kind of like doing this kind of like new planning about that. So you clearly have this newfound passion. You kind of like really want to go in this new direction, but at the same time you're having possibly worries or anxiety about that direction, or you feel stuck, or somebody is not doing their share, because this is still a slight Mercury retrograde that you're affected. So advice for you guys is that the time will come when you must leave your cares behind and move on. That's kind of like what it is over here. Something just cannot be perpetuated forever. Something really has to kind of like move on. So don't get stuck in the rut, my Libra. Make a decision and move on. So, okay, accurate, abandoning out model thinking. Good. We all need to kind of remember it. We all get stuck, right? Okay, so Libra. And we have two more. Let's see, who is this? Leo. We have Mr. and Mrs. Leo's coming up. Leo. I don't know if this one is even showing here. I'm trying to do it the best, but we'll see. Leo. Oh, let me put a stamp over here. Okay, Leo. So we have Nine of Swords reversed. I think something else flicked. You have the World reversed. And you have Ace of Cups reversed. Whew. So it's almost like you're feeling maybe exhausted. Like Nine of Swords is like that card, like where you feel everything is coming at you. No matter what you do, you're blocked, people are attacking you. And it's also connecting to words, it's also connecting to communication. And you feel like something is really non-productive. This, unfortunately, is kind of like the finishing kind of like act in something that maybe you have been going through. Maybe you have been dealing with the fixed signs, a Scorpio, Aquarius, another Leo or Taurus, and there's like something that is still unfinished, because the World card, which is my half karma card, something that is happening right now, is not the best card when it comes reversed. It means that you probably feel unaccomplished, that you feel that something was supposed to reach some ending and happy ending and culmination, and it didn't. And it could be in your case relating to some kind of like a love or attraction of some sort, right? You're kind of like really mulling it over this entire week, right? And this is really also kind of like affecting you greatly, I would say, because the karma card is here. You're feeling that it's just going to be a sense of unfulfillment. It's not going to be anything really serious, but this whole sense that it's kind of like really hard for you to move forward is still going to be very present, because as long as this card doesn't flip, you're kind of like stuck in some kind of like limbo, and that limbo is kind of like not making us eager to kind of like jump and move things and clean the house and go in your direction or meet somebody else, because we are still mulling over certain things. This also could mean that maybe somebody else kind of comes through and we are really not even noticing the person, because we are just like too immersed in everything that is going on in our lives. So keep that in mind, right? So let's see what I have here for you. You just simply have to deal through this week. And you're getting melancholy reversed. And that's kind of a thing. Like, I mean, this is not so much melancholy that I see in this like Nine of Swords as much as would be kind of like those extremes of depression, like this kind of like deepness of kind of like why and why not me, maybe even feeling sorry for yourself, right? Melancholy is a really mild form of depression. It's kind of like the funk that we all can fall into from time to time. It simply can mean that you are dwelling on your mistakes and on your disappointments, and that sort of like can spiral into depression. It can really talk about dealing with feelings of abandonment or grief or regrets, sort of a thing. So remember, it came reversed, right? So even when it's reversed, it's still kind of like melancholy is melancholy, right? So whether you're looking from the left or the right, it's still kind of like coming to the same. It's going to be the whole week a period of introspection. You might feel a little bit sad. You might feel regretful over certain things that you did. Be careful, because that always kind of like takes the spiral down. And we are, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, moving into this kind of like months where many people have the seasonal affective disorder. So that can kind of like magnify you helping it. It's almost like throwing the match on something that has already existed, right? So maybe you're not finding enough strength, and this can indicate some kind of like possible separation over here. Maybe you're saying, oh, nothing is going to fulfill me anymore. I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to be a difficult week, right? It can be just like, I mean, some kind of like a negativity. I call this a card wash machine brain. You keep cycling the same things over. Why this and why this? You know, like, I mean, whenever you have these why questions, it's usually the spiral or circle that kind of like goes on, right? Sometimes you have to say, I really don't care why you did it. I'm moving forward. Kind of like that's the way out. So this can really talk about, you know, emotional breakdown, maybe a love gone wrong, maybe you're dealing with a situation in your family that is not very happy, or it could be some kind of loss or friendship or partner or job or money, right? So you really, really need to kind of like, that would be your Five of Cups, basically, in tarot, the card. So I would say the best path forward for you would be to simply accept the past. You need to gather your thoughts versus kind of like flying in all the direction. Focus on what can be done, not what must be done, what can be done. And you need to move beyond the situation. So this is the way you're cutting these cords. This is the way you're turning this karma, saying you're forcing this card out. And that way you're moving into this like new productive direction. So Leo, just buckle up, brace for an impact this week. And then we are going in the new moon. Everything will work out better in the next coming week. Make sure that you're coming to the next live so we can kind of like see this more. And the last sign, who knows what we missed? I can look here on my sheet, and this is Gemini. Gemini, you're the last. Do we have any Gemini over here? Interestingly enough, you know, when I look at this U.S. election, like, I mean, one candidate is Gemini, another one is Sagittarius. It's the same axis. It's almost like, you know, Ra and Seth in all Egypt. Like, each day, Ra, like in the morning, would kill Seth, the god of darkness. And each night, like, Seth would kill Ra, the god of sun and light, right? So kind of like it's perpetual thing. It's almost like a rubber band. So that is kind of like where it's really, really more interesting. You cannot really separate one from another. But it kind of like if one pulls, another one would. So that's kind of like what's going to really, really work out. So let's see. We have Sagittarius coming through as a Knight of Wands. The feeling. And then you have the Moon reversed. And we have you coming through. So this could mean that somebody's coming through. You are not thinking they're really serious. You're not giving somebody, let's say, lots of credit. You're thinking like just kind of like passing fancy of some sort. But you're having the Moon reverse. So there is like Moon upright could be like confusion and kind of like disorientation of some sort, and lots of people are telling you about things, or you're getting lots of voices, you're reading lots of things, you're getting all confused. But when the Moon reverses, you're getting really clear on what you really want to do, or what is the right thing to do, right? So you start seeing things in a different light, and they're like options that are kind of like giving in the end. They're positive options, almost like you have your options, or you're feeling back in control. You're feeling that you can actually govern yourself properly. Sixes are generally kind of like addressing, like, I mean, the needs, your own needs kind of a thing. In the general kind of like deck, we are going to have a man looking at his, sorry, at his beautiful woman, and being mesmerized and not willing to travel further, kind of like he's stuck in a situation where this card is basically more or less encouraging you, no, you have to continue your path, and everything that you're learning along the path is still going to be here depending on your own conduct, right? So you'll always be able to have these things kind of like in the future. So this is a card talking about not burning your bridges if you're moving forward, but like if you're staying around to kind of like be as diligent as you can, with understanding that you're closing yourself from the future, let's say, development. So let me see what else you get as a card. You're getting falseness, and that falseness came reversed. And you know, like, I mean, this is a cat tarot, like, so when I see falseness, the kitty as a cat, it always kind of like drives me the wrong way. So the good thing is, like, when this card reverses, it indicates the end of a period of falsehood. So this is just like the Moon card is talking about, we are not imagining things, the truth is now coming out, and secrets are revealed, and deceptions are actually clearly uncovered. So if there were any kind of like insincere behaviors or gossip, remember how I said over here, slander, be careful not to burn this bridge, because now you're going to finally realize that none of these things should be a factor, right? So if there was a deceit, now it's going to be complete clarity. We are going to come kind of like to all this, like, I mean, checking, and you're going to know what's going on. If you have been dealing with a partner, because this card can really, really indicate jealousy, and this card can really indicate that somebody's coming through who he's clearly kind of like more interested in kind of like in experience. So somebody just wants to, let's say, be on one date with you, but not kind of like build a life with you, right? And yet the date is so positive and so amazing that all you can think about spending the lifetime with this person. So two people have completely different agendas. So somebody's lulling themselves into, hey, this is what's going to happen, and then the sobering thought comes through, and then you say, okay, well, that's the way it is. I really have to deal with this, right? So there is like this decision, kind of like, hey, I have to keep moving, because if I get stuck here, I'm going to get the situation that it was really clear from the very beginning. It was just me who had this wishful thinking, and so on and so forth. But this is not to say that the experience was not freaking fantastic, kind of a thing. So yeah, I guess proceed, guys, with caution, whatever people situations you kind of like meet, and especially if you think that certain kind of like things or people are not as clear as they appear, kind of like that's kind of like be really careful in the situation. But in the end, it looks like you're going to have options, you're going to have choices, and it is going to be really, really good for you for your own personal development. So that's kind of like what kind of like it works. So Lynn, just turning in, was greeted by a neighbor, her kitty. Happy Catturday. Leo, you can go to 122.35, so you can kind of like see it there. And Gemini, I didn't put exactly a timestamp. I'm going to put approximate over here. So okay, guys, we are going to do cards again for the end, and then I'm going to do mod cards to finish. And it was another great Catturday, and it's actually freaking amazing. So let me just put this on, and let's shuffle in front of you. So let's see, the door number 1 is this one, door number 2 is this one, and door number 3. So that's a sign, Lynn, when you get a pretty cat. And door number 3. So let's see, if did you guys ask yourself a question to get an answer, just like last moment, last second, ask. So the door number 1, you get the 8 of Swords. It wasn't something where the situation was stuck and there were issues over here, and there was a really great reason why this basically didn't happen. When this card reverses, the answer is still no, I'll be honest with you, but you are having a better grasp of the question and why certain things are really happening. So it's really important to know. When you get a better grasp, and you're going to realize that you have to kind of like approach things from a completely different angle in order for you to make it happen. So hence, the question is not going to be the same question, let's say, in a short period of time. I would say even within 8 days. The door number 2 is 8 of Wands. So the answer is yes, something is arriving, something is happening. You maybe want to hear from somebody, you want a communication, you want somebody to ask you out, you want to get a job. Yes. Also, this is moving really, really fast, and that can be happening also like within a week or shorter period of time. And the door number 3, we have the Tower. That is going to be a setup. You are walking into something that is not properly done. You are building a tower. It's a house of cards to me, and something has to collapse. You want something that is stacked up on something that was not right in the first place. So this has to be rebuilt entirely. So unless you just ask to have sex, and then the answer is yes. But if you ask for something that requires some solidity or some kind of like longevity, this is a card that is saying that's not built properly. You have to start rebuilding it. So this is not a no card, but it's telling you the way it is now, it's not possible to build it. You need to go and rebuild it. And rebuilding it means kind of like facing certain circumstances and make it difficult. So some kind of like adjustment really needs to happen. And a beautiful, dedicated, lovely mods get more kind of like cards for them. I'm just going to put it here to shuffle. It's easier in a bigger bowl. Maybe I can even wash this now when it's out once in a blue moon. So general message is flexibility, guys, which is probably the best thing to have to be a survivor in life. And let's go back again in the order of appearance. So you guys also rewarded for coming early. Needing yoga, you're first. You're getting education. Did you not get it the last time? So this, regarding your question, I guess it's telling you just check your rules, check everything, just don't kind of like apply your own interpretation, use quotation marks, grab it from the books, grab it from the rules, and kind of like deal with things that way. And then we have Chris always gets good cards. Chris is getting communication, so he's going to be getting probably email from me, and his Aquarius friend is going to get him a lottery ticket, so that's kind of going to be very kind of much around it. So then we have Kylie. Kylie, you're getting forgiveness. So maybe you're letting go of some situation that is kind of like holding you karmically. Maybe you are being forgiven something by somebody. Simply, this is kind of like a release of some kind of energies that is really, really showing up. And Barbie, aren't you getting the same thing? You're getting commitment, stubborn commitment. Are you getting married, Barbie? Something like is really, really brewing over here. You're going to be signing something really, really good. So make sure that you check the small print. That's kind of like all I have to say on that one. So guys, hopefully this was like fun, and hopefully we'll have some messages to carry on for this particular week. And I'm going to see you on, is it the 14th? I think it's the 14th. It's going to be the day before the new moon, so we'll be able to kind of like give these messages, what to do for new moon, for particular sign, how to move forward. And you know that I love you, and I know that like I'll be thinking about you whole week. So what was the first general? I missed it. What was the first general? I think it was flexibility. That was first general. That's the one that was. So we all need to kind of like go a little bit out of our way, kind of trying to get a better grasp on things. So yeah, you got it twice. So it's a really, really clear message for you. Celine, will I get a raise in pay on my job? So I don't know, like, I mean, which door you picked. Kind of like we just had these doors. Maybe you should go back to the first doors and ask this question, so that way you can get the answer. Or hey, you can contact me for a reading. That's also CaturdayPredictions and go with that. So guys, a little bit of musica for the end, and I'll be seeing you on next Saturday. Have a wonderful and beautiful week, guys. So there we go. It's kind of like low, because it is.